How's it going, guys? Kyle here with Awesome Sauce News. Today I'll be doing a bit of a DIY project on my personal build. I'm going to explain to you that just a bit, but first off I just want to address the microphone that I'm holding here. My lavalier mic isn't really working very properly, so I'm forced to use the built-in mic on this thing, so excuse me if I look a bit awkward holding this in my hand, but the built-in mic on this thing is actually pretty good, so hopefully the audio is treating you very well on your end. So first off, for those of you who might not be aware, or if you guys just need a reminder, this is a 600T case. It's got a 2600K overclocked at 4400 megahertz, 16 gigs of RAM, Asus GTX 670, as well as a P8 Z68V Pro motherboard, and a bunch of other stuff, a lot of SSDs, Vertex 4s, and things of that nature. So it's a bit dated. It's 3 years old. It's actually the first system that I built, so I'm very proud of it, and it's definitely sentimental to me in some ways because it's my first rig. But it still performs just fine. I edit on it nearly every week, and there's no lag, there's no slowing down. The rendering times are still pretty decent. So it's not quite time to do away with it yet or sell it for parts or something like that. But I do want to make some changes to it, some slight upgrades and modifications. My phone's ringing. Hold on one second. So the first thing I'm going to be doing to this system is I'm going to be reinstalling the drive cages that I had initially taken out. And the reason for that is I want to move the SSDs and the mechanical hard drive that's in there currently in these 5¼ inch bays into these drive cages. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want to have room in my 5¼ inch bays for this fan controller. And the reason why I'm installing a fan controller is because the fan controller on the 600T blew out a couple months ago. I was playing a game and all of a sudden my rig was way too quiet. I'm like, oh, my rig's really quiet. In fact, it's too quiet. And sure enough, none of the fans were spinning, and the system actually shut off like 5 seconds later. So I checked it out, and yep, sure enough, the fan controller is completely blown out. So I'm going to be installing this Lamptron FC5V2 controller. I actually did a video on this as well if you want to check that out. So the other thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking this Water 2.0, this Thermaltake Water 2.0 liquid cooler, and I'm going to be swapping that out with the H100 that's currently in there. This is the original H100, and it still performs quite well. I think the LED on the water block actually went out as well, so there's no light emitting from there, but it's not really a performance issue at all. But I just have this Thermaltake cooler lying around collecting dust in my room, so I figured I would put it to good use. And I'd say the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reinstall these extension cables. These are BitPhoenix Alchemy cables in white, and I originally had them in my rig, but have since then taken them out because I was doing more testing in here and I needed a variety of cables to plug in multiple graphics cards and things of that sort. So I'm going to be reinstalling those just for a nice clean aesthetic look. Oh, and I will be installing the white LED that I picked up in Taiwan recently. If you want to check out my vlog video if you haven't already. I'm going to be installing an LED, and hopefully everything will just run a lot smoother and this thing will be a bit cleaner as well. Speaking of cleaning, I am going to dust this thing off right now before I actually get building or rebuilding in this system because it's quite dusty and I'm not really comfortable to admit when the last time I cleaned it was. So on that note, let's get started. I'm going to go clean this thing and then we're going to do a time lapse. It's going to be awesome. Go! Alright guys, it is finally complete. That whole process took me roughly 4.5 hours, so it's a bit more involved than just building a computer from the ground up, because I had to relocate all the drives, which meant unplugging everything. I just unplugged everything because the cable management on this thing was just god-awful. So I even forgot to mention that at the beginning of the video, that one of the major changes of this little update was going to be the cable management, and I'm much happier with how everything turned out. These are all the old parts. As you can probably tell, I've got a lot of dust. Once again, I'm pretty ashamed of myself that I let it go this long without ever cleaning it. So I have the H100 here. This is the drive cage adapter that allowed me to install those SSDs in that mechanical hard drive in the 5¼ inch bays. It's a Sigmatech 5¼ inch to 3.5 inch converter, and then from there I used these 3.5 inch to 2.5 inch adapters for those SSDs. So there was a lot of adaptation going on in this case. These are the Cougar Vortex fans that I was using with the H100, because the stock fans that came with it were a little bit noisy. So I swapped those out as well for the Thermaltake 2.0 fans. And I'm really happy with how the the fan controller looks in this case. At first I wasn't really sure because the front of the 600T is all mesh and the FC5 is very sleek looking, so I thought those two looks would clash, but actually I really like how it looks. You guys can let me know what you think personally. And I currently have all the fans hooked up to it, so I have full control over the cooling of my system. And one really cool thing is that I actually hooked up the LED to the fan controller, so I can turn the LED completely off. So if I want to leave the system running when I'm asleep, but I don't want the light to bother me, then I can just completely turn it off, or I can just dim it a little bit. So I'm really excited that that worked out as well. The way I went about connecting the LED to the fan controller was I completely snipped off the end of the power adapter that came with the LED. So now that gives me these two leads that I can then route to the fan controller. And I did that via a Molex to 3-pin adapter, which I just picked up for a couple bucks on Frozen CPU. Basically, I just took the two leads, wired them to the Molex, taped it up, and then from there I just plugged in the other end, that 3-pin connection, to the fan controller, and presto. So all around, really solid build, really solid upgrade, I should say. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below of this little renovation, and if you just simply like this video. I am planning another build, kind of like a main rig. This is probably going to be my secondary rig. I do have a 4930K just lying around, and I've got an X79 board as well that I'm planning on doing a build on soon. The reason why I'm waiting on it is because I'm waiting for another case to come out that hasn't released yet. It's the 780T from Corsair. You guys may have seen it from our Computex coverage, or from anybody else's Computex coverage for that matter. It's a really cool looking case. I'm a huge fan of Corsair cases, so hopefully I can get a sample of that and do a personal build with that X79 platform. So look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to toss me a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video.